So it was pretty simple or short on the consultation form. Someone got bit in the face. Is that correct?
Yes, my wife.
Okay. Can you give me more information on how that happened?
We were getting up out of bed to take him out for the night with the other dogs, and he just snapped.
Mm. And by just snapped, do you mean like just snapped in the head, or he just snapped at her face?
Just snapped at her face.
Okay. So he's on the bed, correct?
Yes.
And then she went over to like grab him, to call him. Did she put her face?
No. Jen, what you were putting on your shoes or your socks or something? Turn this down. She was putting on her shoes, kind of like sitting on the edge of the bed, and he was sitting at the foot of the bed, kind of facing her.
Okay.
Facing the same.
Okay. Was he sitting up or laying down?
He was laying down.
Laying down. And was her face like kind of sideways to him, or was it kind of pointing in his direction?
You know what? I was looking the other way. I was putting on my boots on the other side of the bed, so I'm gonna hand you off to my wife if that's okay.
Sure. Yeah.
Okay. Here she is.
Hello.
Hi. So were you facing were you like sideways to him, or were you kind of leaning in towards where he was, his head was laying
Not
down?
towards him. We were both kind of facing the same way, and I was like bending over the side of the bed to put my shoes on. Next to him. He was like right next to me.
Did he have an object nearby in his paws? Was he chewing on something?
No, he was sleeping.
Oh, okay. Was he fully asleep, or was he just like eyes just like open, just laying down?
No, he had woken up because we were getting out of bed to take him out for the night. He was awake, but like he had just woken up.
Okay. Has he? I think I read that there's been other attempts. Is that correct? And this was the first contact, or?
That's the first time he'd bitten me. He's bitten like kids on the hands and stuff before.
Okay. Now, when he's bitten kids on the hands, were these punctures, or is just mouthing?
No, punctures.
Okay. Can you explain how those happened?
I really don't know.
Like, were they just running around playing like kids, and then he decided to bite a hand, or were they like pulling at his face? Is there any context to those bites?
Our kids are older. They're not little kids. I think like one of them that I know is like she was petting him and he just jumped up and bit her. Another time somebody was getting something from him that he shouldn't have had, and he went after their hand.
Okay. How many attempts in total has he had? Or how many bites or attempts? Or has there been 5, 3?
How many bites has he done? I think 3.
The 3. Okay, so there's yours, the one with the object, and then one while the child was petting him. How old are the other two that he had bitten?
At the time, 12 and
13.
12. Probably at the times they were 12 or 13.
Okay, and how long has it been since those incidents?
At least a couple of years.
Probably about a year since the last one.
And he's 5 years now?
Yes.
Okay, so all these kind of happened once he turned 4 years old.
3 to 4, I said.
Like 3 to 4.
Okay. And you've had him since 2 months?
Since he
16 or 18 weeks.
Yeah, 16 or 18 weeks.
Okay, so that's what 4 months. While growing up as a puppy, did you ever notice anything? Did he seem like more aggressive, or was he just chill and then all of a sudden?
No, he seemed pretty good. He's always been a very smart dog. He flew through his obedience training for the most part, and I don't know. It's just he does have an ear infection right now. He's going into the vet tomorrow for that. That was the earliest they could get him in.
Okay.
And he's getting shots tomorrow too. So, he's always had ear infections. Always, his ears are always infected. He has a real hard time with us giving him his ear medicine as well.
Okay, that was gonna be my next question.
Yeah.
when you give him the ear medicine, like, do you have to like wrestle him, or is he pretty like easy with it?
He gets angry.
Okay.
Would be the best way to put it. Yeah.
And how do you end up applying the medicine?
Usually we have to just wait for him to get good and calm, and then just kind of play around with him and give him a couple of squirts. When we get the opportunity to, you know what I mean?
Sure.
Scary to do it.
Yeah, he's never, like I said, he's always had issues with his ears, so he's never really, no matter how, when he was young, they tell you that, play with their paws and their ears and stuff, so he get used to that. He's never been good with his ears, for sure.
What kind of food is he eating? Like, what's the brand of food?
He's eating Science Diet. What is the sensitive stomach? He had gastrointestinal issues when he was a puppy too, so he's been on, a sensitive food his whole life, most part.
And does he get anything outside of that food, or is that pretty much like his diet?
No, he gets scraps here and there,
Okay. Okay, so what I'm trying to decipher here is why these bites happen, because without knowing the context, it makes it difficult to figure out the approach. Okay, so definitely the one where he had an object that he shouldn't have had, that's resource guarding. That's an easy one. Okay, it's possible that the bite to the face was also territorial in the sense that he was on the bed.
Yeah. He's always slept on the bed, ever since he was a puppy,
The only other thing I could think of is, because how long ago was this most recent bite? This one that just happened?
This, she still has stitches in her nose, man. This was last Thursday.
Last Thursday, okay.
Yeah. I think it was Thursday, right? Yeah.
I mean, unless like he had that if that ear infection was starting or something, and she got into personal space and he just, took it as threatening or something. The other one, the one where the 12-year-old was petting him and then all of a sudden he just bit the hand. Was he on the couch or anything?
I was at work at the time. Okay. Yeah, I mean, we're talking a few years, at least 2 years ago. You know what I mean?
Sure.
I just know that this behavior can't continue. I can't. We've got kids. I love my dog. I love him to death. He's my best friend. But we're out of fucking options, man. We really are.
So the problem that all right, before I actually talk about that, when you did the obedience training, what was he trained with? A prong collar, choke collar, treats?
No, nothing. Just treats for the most part.
Just treats. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So I'm assuming you guys did the research on me. I use e-collar, prong collar to train and all that stuff, right?
Yes.
Okay. So the problem that we're going to have here is when it comes to biting, like aggression or biting is not a characteristic that your dog has or doesn't have. Okay. I always tell everybody, even if you got a golden retriever or whatever, yellow lab, every dog with the mouth and teeth can bite you. Right.
Exactly.
It's just a matter of, do they ever feel like they need to? Right. Because most people go like, oh, I do whatever I want to my dog and the dog's never done anything. I'm like, well, not yet, at least that we know of. Right. Is, if you're trying to, there's no removing the biting. Okay. It's what we would, the approach that I would do is we would eliminate a lot of free rein.
Okay.
Definitely have to have reliable and meaningful control over that dog. And that's where we're going to have a problem, because with the e-collar and the prong collar, they're perfectly safe tools to use. I just trained a Rottweiler 3 weeks ago. It was a puppy. He's like 7-8 months now. We have a Rottweiler at our facility right now that just completed his program, and he's 9 months or whatever. They're already doing e-collar and stuff. Is the reason why I asked what was he trained on before is these tools allow us to make the dog do something. Okay.
Okay.
There is no option to sit. It's you're gonna sit. There's
Okay.
no choice in if I call you, are you gonna return to me? It's you're gonna return to me, right? And it's that they're gonna do it part is where, because I always want to think worst case scenario, so that this way the owner knows what they're getting into. Is when a dog feels like, oh crap, I actually have to do this, right? And right now we have a dog who's currently 5 years old who hasn't been made to do something and has been made to do something using pressure or force. Okay. Is the first thing I think is as soon as we come into that dog's life and we try to make them do something, they're going to protest. Okay. And protest is resistance. They can bite the leash, they can bark at you, they can jump and bark at you. And in some cases, they'll bite you. Right. As he's saying, oh, you want me to do this? Well, make me. And now it becomes like kind of like a fight. Except when he fights, he's going to use his mouth. And he's 150 pounds.
At least.
Yeah. So that's where the concern comes into play. Because in order to establish that control and assert these rules of like, hey, you're going to respect this and you're not going to do this, he has to have consequence. You can't dance around this with, treats and positivity and praise and stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. I get it.
Yeah, because dogs bite each other. And obviously you have 3 prime examples of if he doesn't like something, he just bites you.
Yeah.
Right? So that's the biggest concern is that, we come in, we try to assert control and stuff. And now you have to battle this dog who's gone 5 years without being made to do something. Right. And it's really the sheer size of him that makes it a problem, because your case and the fact that he's, he's the resource guarding bite is one thing. The first one that happened a couple of years ago, we don't really know the context. So like I don't have, if you told me each one of these bites were around an object, it makes it easier because I know he's aggressive around an object, right? In this case, your wife was just kneeling over, putting on her shoe, and they happened to be side by side, and he decided to bite her in the face, right? So it's without being able to decipher the real reasoning, because then if I was like, well, if that was the case, that's easier because it's not a dog that's biting to be a bully or to assert themselves. Okay.
I don't get that vibe from him at all. Like I never have. He's not a bad dog. He listens, you know what I mean? I just don't know what's causing the issue and why this was bad, man. You know what I mean? It simply can't have it again. I just want to try to resolve this. I want to do everything I can before I have to even consider what we may have to do next.
Right.
If it continues.
Right. So just be mindful of that stuff. Okay. Because I'm going to explain how all this would work. Okay? Is the first thing that I would do is we have to muzzle train that dog. You have to muzzle train him because if you're going to put pressure on him with the remote or the prong collar, and you're going to have to make it happen, you want to remove that mouth from the picture. Okay.
Absolutely.
Because it's going to make you paranoid. It would make anybody paranoid. Okay. It would make me paranoid. So I'm like, this guy's 150 pounds. Like, and his vantage point to me, even with the leash and stuff, like he's at a greater advantage. Okay. Is muzzle conditioning, because then it allows you to assert yourself over him using the training tools and not having to worry about shit, what happens when things go south. Because I'm a trainer, right? I do this, we train dogs all day, every day. And I have to train you to train your dog who's 150 pounds who may potentially bite you. Right. So when I come in, I have to prevent all that stuff from happening, but at the same time, trying to get you where you're wanting to go.
Exactly. I get it.
So we have to muzzle train, absolutely. And I would have you muzzle train before you even start. Okay. Because you starting with the collar just puts you there's too much risk there for you. Okay. And we would send you the information. It's easy. You just have to do it. The second thing would be once we get the muzzle thing trained, then we start the control process of just like creating reliable control. but also providing consequence for certain behaviors. I would not allow him, like, and this isn't something that I actually do. Like, I don't care that dogs run couches and beds and stuff. I really don't. But the fact that I can't determine why the bite happened there is like, well, in that case, the dog's not allowed in the bed ever. The dog.
Yeah, we've already established that, you know what I mean, here in the house. So
right. So then if like, because he's going to be used to things. He's going to be used to be sleeping on the couch and stuff or on the bed. Is that in the beginning, we're going to have to start removing him. And I always assume, of course, the worst. And I don't know if one day when you're trying to remove him while you're in that process, he decides like, hey, I don't want to get off the bed and I'll fight you for it. Right. So that's where that muzzle comes into play.
Yeah.
It allows us
and we've had issues getting a muzzle on him before in the past, and the vets have as well,
Yeah.
He's he gets out of muzzles, man, even after the vet puts them on somehow. So
they're probably not fitted correctly. So the muzzle that we use is a basket style, and it's got a third strap, and it has a loop on the bottom that secures the muzzle to a flat collar.
Okay.
So it's secure around the face, and we send you this information. Okay. Now, when it comes to putting the muzzle on him, I'm very strict of how we condition. So I remove all scraps, all treats, all that crap, and I limit it to just his diet. Okay. And I'm gonna put a Ziploc bag in the muzzle. We put the food in there. We present it. He's like, screw you, I'm not eating out of that. I put it away. He doesn't eat. Okay. And I keep doing that. And after a few days, he's gonna go like, man, the only time I see food is when that muzzle is out. And I'm gonna have to put my face in that muzzle in order to eat it. Right. So we make them like the muzzle, but it requires, like, you have to be really strict, because I had someone in the past who could not muzzle train his Rottie because he wouldn't do that approach.
Okay.
So he never muzzle trained the dog. And I was like, well, in that case, you can't take your dog anywhere because it's a liability.
How is it going to be? How is it going to be if he doesn't want to do this for a couple of days and he's deprived of food for a couple of days, and I've got, 5 tasty kids running around here and 2 other dogs? You know what I mean?
I don't anticipate seeing anything because he's not going to view them as food, but technically I could see that as being a concern. Right?
Absolutely.
But it's like, well, how else are you going to make it happen? That's the problem with your case, is because he's a 150-pound dog. So like I had another client or consultation, and they had a Cane Corso who was like 135 pounds. They got another Cane Corso, it was a puppy, and within 2 weeks, that Cane Corso, the older one, attacked the puppy. And I talked to him and I said, hey, like, do you really want to worry about in a year to 2 years having 2 Cane Corsos fighting each other? And are you going to want to break them apart? And they're like, no, we didn't think about that. Right. So these are definite things you want to think about and mull over, right? Because it's not going to be easy. Okay. Like I'm trying to take every approach to make it as risk-free for you, but at the same time, like we like, I understand that concern, but it's like, well, how else are we going to get the muzzle on him? How are we going to get him to accept the muzzle without fighting the muzzle? Because now that's another thing I had to fight the dog over, so that's where things get a little complicated. Now, I've not ever seen it, but dogs are animals, doesn't mean it can't happen.
Yeah. And we've never lost sight of that. I mean, at the end of the day, he is an animal, you know what I mean? Yeah. So
I forgot, is he neutered, by the way?
Yeah, he is.
Okay, so it's not testosterone based or anything like that. Okay. The first thing I would do is muzzle train that guy, and then once we're able to get that done, then we can move into the training aspect of it. Okay. Because once so dogs discipline each other by biting each other, right? And if he's not ever had any form of discipline in a manner that he understands, like, oh shit, like there's actually consequence for my behavior, and consequence that I don't want. That's where we can start to shift things. But at the same time, I wouldn't say like, oh yeah, now your dog's trained, put your face in your dog's face.
No, well, I also want to add, like, he does not have free run of the house. He when there's food around and stuff like that, he goes to his room. I tell him go to his room, and he goes to his room just fine. It's no fighting with him, nothing like that. He goes and stays down till dinner's put away. He comes back out. when there's company over or something like that, you know, Caesar, go to your room, and he'll get up from wherever he is and walk to his room. I mean, I don't understand. And I know you don't know because you don't have all the context either, where, and I don't even know if it's aggressive, because it's not like aggressive. It's not like a bite and a shake. It's a quick snap. And I don't know. I'm not making excuses for him. I'm just trying to understand.
I mean, they can be correction bites. But the problem is he's fulfilling the bite.
Yeah. He's
you know,
to do what he wants them to do instead of him doing what he needs to
like
do.
the whole, like when the kid tried to take the object from him, like that makes sense to me, you know, understanding dogs, right? And he did a correctional bite. The only thing is he actually, you know, closes and releases, which punctures. Some dogs, like I had a case where same story, child went to remove a water bottle from the dog, and the dog bit the child in the face, but there were no punctures. There was a bruise.
Okay.
So that dog just enough to catch the skin, but didn't puncture.
Okay.
And that was a correction bite. You know, every dog corrects differently. Some dogs overdo it where they'll, like, you know, bite and shake and go crazy, but it's technically a correction. In your case, you know, definitely that one with the resource guarding was a correctional bite, but he just happens to fulfill it.
Yeah, and also he did come from a pet store, so I mean, there's no guarantee how old he was when he got taken away from whatever mill he certainly came from. You know what I mean?
Sure.
And that probably may have something to do with all of this as well. You know, he might not have any social skills from when he was a puppy to learn from.
Has he been so, like, I mean, how is he with, like, people? Like, I know you said you send him to the back and stuff, but like,
he's good. I mean, generally he's good. Like, he likes people. We used to bring him to the dog park all the time, and he would run around with other dogs and play with people. And I trusted him more than any person I ever knew at the time. You know what I mean? It just never occurred to me that he had that in him. You know, I mean, I know he has it in him. He's an animal, but he never acted like that should be a concern of mine. You know what I mean?
Sure.
And like, since he bit my daughter, we just don't bring him to the park anymore, just because I don't want to take that risk. He's a freaking of a dog, you know. I just, I don't understand where it's coming from. Like right now he's laying down, and I don't have an issue laying with him right now and like holding him, you know what I mean? But my kids do it, or my wife even, you know what I mean? So that's also an issue. He needs to know that he has to listen to everybody in the house, not just me.
Right. And I mean, the other thing is he's created this trust, right? Because it sounds like he's bitten everybody but you.
Yeah.
So now, like, everybody's going to be wary of him, and then what can happen, and there's no guarantees, it's just always possibility, is if he's making everybody around him paranoid, so they're not trusting him because of what happened.
Yeah, I know they.
But he doesn't think that. He's just like, why don't you trust me? So then it makes you suspicious of them. You know, and then next thing you know, he starts to bully more, or like assert himself, or whatever. You know, and or it doesn't happen. Like, there's no, again, guarantee to these things, but that's a possibility, because of course with people, like, and he's a sizable dog, you're going to be wary with this of the dog because of what happened. You know. So
now, I'm going to come out and just ask you, I mean, in your opinion, is this issue fixable if we work the program the way the program's supposed to be worked?
If I had more context, I could give you a better answer, but I'm leaning more towards no.
So this probably will not work for him.
There's no, it's really hard. So it sounds, people don't understand. It's easier for me to fix aggression that is like clear as day. Man, every time someone comes into my house, the dog bites them. That is easier to fix than yours, because I'm going, why? You know, and the resource guarding, I understand that. The other stuff, I'm usually pretty good about figuring out what happened and going like, oh, this sounds why, like, you know, the reason. Now, her face in front of his face, has that ever happened before?
No.
No, where she got that close to him.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
You know, a million times, of course. You know, we've had him since he was a puppy.
Yeah. So like the only things that I can think of are he was either being territorial of the end of the bed, or if that ear infection was in play and she got close to him, and face to face for dogs can be confrontational.
Yeah, exactly.
And that particular time he just said like, not today, because shit like that happens too, where like people will say like, oh, my kids climb all over my dog lets them do it. I'm like, until the day they don't like it.
Yeah.
The most that we would be able to do is have as much control over possible. He would have a very kind of prison life, if you will. And
I could get my dog locked up, man. That's not like for an animal to live.
Well, not locked up as in like locked up in a room, but I mean like always under control.
Yeah, I mean, of course.
So I'm not saying you're going to keep him in a room isolated, because that just makes the dog more antisocial. What I'm saying is he would always be under control.
Yeah, that's totally fine. I need to be able to get everybody else to that point to where I just don't have to worry. I travel a lot for work, man. I can't worry about it anymore, man. Especially after this.
Well, you have to also think about how old are your kids?
They're from 14 to 19.
Okay, so they're old enough.
Yeah.
I mean, how do they feel when you're gone and the dog's around?
It's fine. Like I said, we stick to the routine. He always goes to his room. It's like a great big kennel.
Sure.
This is big as a kitchen table, as a matter of fact. But he goes to his room, during dinner time, and if company comes over or something, like the company's really not an issue these days. But if they're going to be running around with the other dogs, we put him in the room so that the kids can play with the other dogs. We just don't have to worry about it. There is a separation. But I mean, they're not like worried about the dog nonstop. You know what I mean?
Sure.
It's not just what are we gonna do to keep Caesar calm? You know what I mean?
Sure. Yeah.
There's rules, and the rules are followed.
Okay. Well, when it comes to them having control over him or whatever it is you're trying to achieve, they'd have to do the same exercises, right? Because if you did all the training and he listened to you, well, that's great, but we still have to close the gap of mom and the kids.
Exactly.
And a potential issue there would be just their confidence in controlling him and using the tools correctly. And like, let's say he has a moment where he's like, sure, I'll listen to dad, but I'm not going to listen to you.
There has to be
I can't make your kids comfortable or like confident in that. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, so it's hard to give you a definite answer just because he's so big. If you told me you had a 40 to 50 pound dog, it's easier because I'm like, all right, well, like, it's easier to control, as opposed to a guy his size.
Yeah.
Where are you located?
I'm in Bartlett.
How far
I'm about 35, 40 minutes from like downtown, like financial, just downtown.
Is that southwest?
We're west.
You're west.
Yeah.
Okay. So the other issue is, are you wanting someone to come to you, or are you wanting to bring him and have to our facility where we train you to train him?
I'm willing to try anything right now, man.
Okay.
Here would be better just because of the schedules. This is my slow time of year, so going there isn't out of the question either. Okay.
Because if you want to work with me, coming to my space is easiest because we raised our rates for in-home training, and there's also the travel fee, which my rate is not cheap, just because an hour of my time is a lot, So if you travel to us, we have a huge facility. We can help you, get all the obedience training and stuff in, and then as much education as we can on preventing this from happening again, because that's the main thing. Like,
that's what
prevention.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I do have a trainer that can go out your way, whose fee is less than mine. The The only issue is he's still just learning. All the obedience stuff he can do, the behavioral stuff is where he's going to be lacking, and that's where I'd have to come in.
Yeah, that's what we need.
Yeah. So in terms of, does he go anywhere? Like, do you take him off leash anywhere?
Walks like every day, man.
And how does he walk?
He always pulls at first, but then like about a block later, he stays right by my side. He just gets real excited to get out of the house every time, you know. But it's always a good block pull, and then he calms down and he stays right by my side. Or, you know, anybody that's walking, my wife included, you know.
Is he dog reactive?
No, when we're out walking, he's not. But when we're in the house, he does bark at dogs walking down the street.
That's fine. I mean,
Yeah.
but so you can walk him on a leash and he'll walk by a dog, no problem.
Yes. When I walk him on a leash, I don't worry about him. If anything, I could just have him sit on one side of the street and wait with me while the other dog passes, and then we'll start walking again.
Gotcha.
You know, he's got like he sits on command. Like I said, he can go to his room. He won't eat until I tell him to finish. I can pour food in his bowl and he'll sit there and wait for, 10 minutes for me to say finish before he puts his face in that dish to eat. And that goes with anybody in the house as well. For the most part, he's never been good with like drop it or leave. That's where his limitations lie pretty much. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And that we can condition. That's not a problem. Because that would help prevent any resource guarding if he grabs something that he shouldn't have.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, think of it realistically speaking.
Yes.
I cannot guarantee he will not bite again.
I get that.
Okay. It would be lots of control. I know you've already eliminated a lot of freedoms, right? But we're also going to want control over that because, like, let's say, your wife walks in the room and he's on the edge of the bed and she tells him to get off and he doesn't want to get off. That's where I would see potential conflict, right? He's going to need to get off.
Yeah, so, he's not even allowed on the bed anymore. You know what I mean? He'll never be on that bed again, ever. Correct. I have not one issue with that whatsoever.
Right. It's more so just if he happens to get on it, then removing him.
He won't. It's a tall bed and it takes a lot of effort for him to get up there. It's sometimes it's like pulling teeth with him for him to get into bed at night, Okay. It's like a treat to get in bed. You know what I mean?
Sure. So what I would probably suggest for you, because I don't think you need like a long 12-week program for this. I think you'd be fine with 9 classes. And that we can always change that. The way I would structure it is the first 2 classes we always cover leash walking, using the remote collar, because that allows us to teach the dog how the e-collar works, how it turns on, how it turns off. Okay, because it's not that we come in, force the dog to be bad, and then punish all the bad behavior. We apply a lot of structure and then see what does the structure fix.
Okay.
Now I know you said he walks well, but leash walking with the e-collar has to happen first before anything else. Okay. That's typically 2 classes. We work on some stationary control, which is if we tell him to go somewhere and not move for the next 2 to 4 hours, he's not going to move for 2 to 4 hours. Okay. Like your family is going to have to just boss him around all the time. Okay. We'll go over all the standard
with it, man.
I'm sorry.
I said at this point, I don't think they'll have an issue with it. Like I said, my wife, she spent 3 days in the hospital. You know what I mean?
Yeah. We'll go over. I don't think you need the recall, which is come when called, just because it doesn't sound like he's going to be going anywhere off leash.
No, right? No, I won't. I don't bring him to the park anymore, off leash park anymore.
Yeah. The only reason why I'm having you do more obedience with him, aside from the recall, is just because it's more stuff that he would get consequence for. Okay. We can go over the release command of drop it or whatever. We can even go over the command of leave it in case they see him trying to eyeball something if needed. And then the rest would be just like, how do we take all this stuff and apply it to your life and
everyday life?
Yeah. And come up with the formula. It's going to be pretty routine, but he don't care. Like, dogs are creatures of habit. So you're not doing anything mean by telling him like, hey, go here and don't move for the next few hours or whatever.
Yeah, for the most part, he's a lazy Rottie, man. Like, aside from when he's outside going to the bathroom or going for a walk, he's pretty much lying down. You know what I mean?
Yeah. The ear infection thing, if we can get a muzzle train, that makes that easier.
Yes, exactly.
But we could also potentially cover that as well. The other thing I would think about is, I know he has that sensitive stomach food and stuff.
Yes.
I do have my nutritionist who helped another client of mine whose dog used to get frequent ear infections as well.
Okay.
And she switched the dog's diet, and he used to go to the veterinarian like every 2 months.
Yeah, exactly.
And then after the nutrition stuff, she hadn't gone in like 8 months.
Okay.
So that can also like just fix that problem, just because we don't have it to deal with it anymore. Okay. And that would be separate of what you do with me. And then you would just give her the information, and then she'll look at what you have and then give you suggestions on foods and stuff.
Okay.
Because it's usually like a buildup of yeast that leads to the ear infections, which most likely is coming from the food. Okay. Because Royal Canine is actually a pretty shit food.
Oh, we don't do the Royal Canine. It was yeah, we've been on. He did the blue duck for a while, and then we put on the Hill Science diet, and this seems to agree with all of the dogs very well. So
yeah, well, Science diet is also not good food. So I'll talk to her about that, and then see if we can help with that. So it's either we change the diet so we don't have to deal with ear infections, or if it's just how he's built. Once he's muzzle conditioned, we can try doing that during the training. We would do a desensitization. We would correct them for acting a fool, but then we can use food to pair it. Like, hey, like if you do bad, correction. If you do good, food.
Okay.
And we can go through that with you as well. Any questions or concerns?
No, I mean, if we got to start over with basics, then just from the ground up, anything is worth a shot, man. I don't want to put my dog down.
No, I understand.
Nobody in this house wants to see the dog go. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So that muzzle is going to be a big factor. Okay. Just because it'll put everybody's mind at ease when they work with him. Because I mean, I've had dogs that I've walked in and I was like, yeah, this is not going to be a problem, and that same dog attacked me as soon as I try to train him. Okay. It's super rare. But it does happen, and I come in going like, oh yeah, this, and then they're like, this dog's never been aggressive, and all of a sudden I try to train them because they don't like being made to do something. All of a sudden we get an aggressive response. Okay. In regards to the e-collar, like the most common question I get is, when does it go away? In my opinion, when you need it, it doesn't. Okay. So since most of the stuff is in the home, that actually makes it easier for you, because in the beginning, expect to be using it a lot in the home, because you have to get that structure down and everything. But then, because in the home there's not that much stuff going on, and like when you have guests come over, you send them to a different room and stuff anyways.
Yeah.
That's not a problem. But like, let's say whenever your family's going to be working with them or something, they may need to have it on just in case, for peace of mind or something.
Okay.
And then when he's outside on the walk, because you have to reinforce, just like for humans, cops are ever present, laws are always around, they're not going to go away, right? It's the same thing with the e-collar and the rules and consequences that you're going to put on them. They're not going to go away. They're always going to be a part of his life.
Okay.
It's just he's not always going to need it. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. Any other questions?
Well, I guess we can talk about cost.
So for the 9-week program, if you're coming to the facility and we have plenty of space to work and stuff, off the top of my head, I think it's $1,175.
Okay. And does that have to be all paid up front, or can we go?
You can do
like on a bi-weekly basis.
So the way it is, it's either all up front or you do half down, and then you're invoiced 2 more times. Okay. So the last half is split into 2 payments. So by the 6th class, you're paid in full.
That's totally workable. We could probably swing that. And is this a weekly class, or how does this work?
Correct. Once a week for an hour.
Okay. And do you offer Saturdays or Sundays?
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
And then Maria would figure that out with you because with 2021, we've had a lot of requests and training clients signing up and stuff.
Mhm.
So, she'll talk to you and get all that coordinated. I don't talk about my calendar just because it's always changing.
Mhm.
But you also get the credit of your consultation, the 135 towards the down payment as well.
Yeah, I read that on your site.
Yeah. In terms of the cost with the e-collar, the one that I'm recommending for you runs around, I believe, 325-ish.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah. It's the most powerful collar. It's meant for a dog 70 pounds and over. And it's fully waterproof, 1 mile range, and it lasts for years. So even though they're pricey, you'll be having it for a long time.
Well, you've heard it, Jenny. It's about $900 just to get them going, almost $1,000. I can't pay that this week. It's just
take your time.
Undoable. It's got to be. I can pay that in a couple of weeks for the collar and the the first half.
Yeah, no. You talk to Maria, you get that sorted out.
Okay.
Right. I mean, my schedule's constantly changing. Okay. I'm not in a rush. Like, I have plenty of clients and stuff. I'm not, trying to push it, but I'm just telling you that's gonna be.
I get that, but I need to get this issue addressed. Start addressing this issue as soon as possible.
Yeah.
Obviously. Do you have any questions, Jennifer? You sure? Okay. Well, I guess we'll start with the 9 and go from there. And then if we need more behavioral work, I guess we can go from there. Hopefully it doesn't come down to too much more than what we're doing with the correctiveness,
Yeah. I'll think about once we get started and I see how he responds to everything, like, we can move more smoothly. I have to operate as a worst case scenario.
Yeah, I get that. I totally get that.
And then we see what happens. All right.
Now, as far what about the muzzle? Where do I get this muzzle? And
we'll send you that information.
Okay. And do we know how much that costs?
This muzzle runs about 35-ish.
Okay.
I'd probably suggest you get a prong as well. Those run about 25 to 35.
Yeah, I've seen them.
Yeah.
Now, is this something that I pick up at like a PetSmart or something, or
you want to get them on Amazon?
Okay.
PetSmart carries generic made prong collars. You don't want those, and they're the same price as a professional brand. So you might as well just go get the professional brand and get them on Amazon or something. But we'll send you that information. Okay. So all in training tools, you're looking at about 400-ish.
Yeah, that's I get. But he's a big dog.
Yeah. So next time get a small dog.
Yeah, I'll say. Yeah, he's speaking of laying on the couch, he's comfortable on the couch right now. Is that a habit that I should start breaking?
Yeah, I would not allow him on anything now.
Okay.
It's he's not going to have the freedoms like he did before, because it's just, we have to avoid any potential context of him guarding something.
As far as like a dog bed, should we not be giving him one of those either, because he might be territorial of that? Tricky one, huh?
Yeah. Well, my thing would be, because the bed thing was because her face was near his face on the bed.
Yeah.
So I don't, like, on the couch, I could see that.
I worry about his joints. You know what I mean? He's a dog.
The bed shouldn't be a problem because it'd be on the ground.
Okay.
Right. But I could see someone sitting down and putting their shoes on the couch, and that same kind of problem happening there. That's the big thing.
Okay.
So I don't have a problem with that. We'll just kind of play that by ear. And if he ends up being a jerk around the dog bed, then hey, you can't have dog beds. It is what it is. Okay.
All right, Jesse. Well, I thank you for your time, and if you guys can send me over that information, we can start working on this right away.
All right.
Like I said, this is my last option. I hope it works. You know what I mean? I know you don't have any guarantees. I know nobody does, but
yeah, unfortunately,
I've got to try everything.
All right. Well, Maria will get that information to you. Okay.
Okay. Thank you so much, man.
Yeah. If you need anything else or if you forgot anything, just ask us. Shoot us an email.
All right. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Take care.
Bye-bye.